Building 106 does not exist.
My name is Minjun. I'm 30 years old. I once dreamed of a bright, successful future, but now I'm standing on the edge of a total collapse. My small practice went under after a reckless expansion and being smothered by local competition. All I have left is a mountain of debt I can never repay. This night shift security job at a dilapidated apartment complex, scheduled for demolition, was the last lifeline I had.
The complex sits on the outskirts of Seoul, perpetually swallowed by a thick, heavy fog. Most of the residents have already fled, leaving the hallways filled with the stagnant chill of empty homes. In the security office, on a desk stained with grime, I found a tattered notebook left by the previous guard. At first, I thought it was just the incoherent ramblings of a senile old man. But as I read through the rules, one by one, a cold shiver began to crawl up my spine. Night shift, standard operating procedures. Rule 1. If the elevator in building 103 is stopped on the 14th floor for no apparent reason, never press the call button. Take the stairs down to the first floor, lock the security office door, and do not look outside for 10 minutes. No one lives on the 14th floor anymore. Rule 2. After 2 a.m., you may receive a noise complaint about children running on the floor above. If the unit reporting this is on the top floor, directly below the rooftop, simply reply, "I am looking into it," and hang up. Under no circumstances should you go up to the rooftop to investigate.
Rule 3. Around 3 a.m., you may hear a delivery motorcycle entering the complex. Delivery vehicles are strictly prohibited after midnight. If a delivery man wearing a helmet knocks on the office window to ask for directions, do not make eye contact. Simply say, "Go to the far right end." The far right end of our complex is a cliff. Rule 4. If you see an elderly woman pushing a cart full of scrap paper in the corner of the B2 parking garage, do not acknowledge her. Basement level 2 has been sealed off since the flood 20 years ago. What you are seeing is merely a record of the past. However, if that woman sees you, she becomes real. Rule 5. If the intercom rings and you hear nothing but heavy, ragged breathing, immediately turn the TV volume to its maximum. The noise will mask your existence. Rule 6. If you receive a call from Building 106, do not pick up. Building 106 does not exist. If the ringing does not stop, go down to B2 and take a single sheet of wet paper from the old woman's cart. Wedge it into the gap of the office door. Rule 7. If you find wet, bare footprints in the hallway leading toward the elevator, ignore Rule 1. Run to the Building 103 elevator and smash the call button repeatedly. You must trap it inside. Rule 8. If you have turned up the TV volume, per Rule 5, and the screen shows a live feed of the inside of the security office, unplug the TV immediately. It is no longer masking you. It is broadcasting your location. Rule 9. Never use your flashlight when passing through the connecting walkway between Building 102 and Building 104. The moment you shine a light, the delivery man from Rule 3 will recognize you as prey. If you accidentally turn it on, drop to the floor and whisper 3 times, "The delivery is here." Rule 10. At 4:44 a.m., look in the mirror. If you are wearing a hospital gown instead of your uniform, forget all previous rules. Tear out the first page of this notebook, stuff it in your mouth, and run to the rooftop immediately. It is your only escape. The incident. 1 a.m. The streetlights flickered and died, plunging the complex into total silence. Suddenly, the monitor in the office buzzed to life. Building 103. The elevator floor indicator slowly climbed. 12, 13, and stopped at 14. In the oppressive silence, I heard it. Slap, slap, the sound of wet, bare feet hitting the concrete. On the floor, dark, murky puddles began to form, snaking toward the elevator. Rule 7. I sprinted to Building 103, Just as the doors were closing, I saw it through the gap. A pale, hairless head, contorted at an impossible, sickening angle, lunging toward me. I smashed the button until my fingers bled, praying for the doors to seal. 3 a.m. A man in a helmet tapped on the glass. He asked for building 106 in a voice that sounded like grinding metal. I followed the rule. I pointed toward the darkness. Go to the end, the far right. After he vanished, I heard the screech of tearing metal and a muffled scream from the abyss, but I kept my eyes shut tight. Then the intercom began to scream. The caller ID read, Building 106. I had to follow Rule 6. I descended into the darkness of B2, where the air smelled of rot and stagnant water. From the shadows, the rhythmic squeak of a rusty cart echoed. I approached the old woman without a light. As I reached out to grab a damp sheet of paper from her cart, she slowly lifted her head. Where her eyes should have been, there were only hollow, bottomless sockets. It becomes real, she croaked. It becomes real. I grabbed the paper and bolted back to the office. 4:44 a.m. I went to the mirror to wipe the sweat from my face, but the scream died in my throat. The man in the mirror wasn't me. He was wearing a blood-stained blue hospital gown, his arms covered in IV puncture marks. He was staring at me with a jagged, wide grin. The TV snapped on by itself. The screen showed the back of my head as I stood at the mirror, and in the corner of the screen, the old woman from the basement was pushing her cart into the office, reaching her withered hand toward my neck. I tore out the first page. I shoved it into my mouth and ran. I ran until my lungs burned, sprinting for the rooftop. Rule 2 told me never to go there, but Rule 10 said it was the only way. I kicked open the door and threw myself into the pitch-black void beyond the ledge. The aftermath. I woke up at 7 a.m. on the security office sofa. The fog was thick outside. The office was a wreck. The desk was overturned, and the TV screen was shattered. Strangely, my body felt light. Everything that happened last night felt like a fading, distant dream. But then, I looked at the notebook on the desk. The first page had been torn out. Was that me? I felt a strange, irresistible urge. I picked up a red pen and began to write on the blank first page. Rule 1. If the elevator in building 103 is stopped on the 14th floor. That's when the radio at my hip crackled to life. A voice came through the static, distorted, panicked, yet hauntingly familiar. It was my own voice. Senior, it's me, Minjun. Can you hear me? I'm in building 106, unit 1404. The door won't open. The water is rising. Please, open the rooftop door. Someone is watching me in here. Please. I calmly reached down and switched off the radio. I looked out the window. In the distance, I saw a new man, the next new guy, walking through the main gate. I smiled thinly and closed the notebook. Building 106? Give me a break, I whispered. That place collapsed into the ravine 20 years ago. It's time. A new shift is starting. I hope he reads the rules carefully.